Shigeyuki Miya comes on as director for this movie, with Atsushi Maekawa serving as writer. We sort of get a double leading lady role this time round, with Emily O'Brien voiced by Naoko Matsui and Sophie voiced by Mamiko Noto. We also get a remix of the 1980 variant on the Lupin theme as an opener, with the ending theme being Fragments of a Dream. The gang have infiltrated a castle. A group of female warriors lie in wait, launching a counter-attack. One by one, the gang are overpowered and killed. They're then revealed to be part of the same group, with all of this being a training exercise for taking on the real gang after they manipulate them into doing a job. Speaking of which, Lupin's headed to Area 51, posing as Dr. Wily, counting on the idea that classic Mega Man won't be back in vogue for another 3 years. He meets with Zenigata and his newest assistant, Emily O'Brien, who are guarding an alloy known as the original metal, said to have been found in the alien craft from the Roswell incident. Lupin explains that his plan to stop himself is to swap out the original metal with a copy. Zenigata catches on to this and orders the room locked down. The gang unmask, revealing the fake metal as a bomb. They then race through Area 51 to make an escape. Their journey takes them to a UFO, which they all hop into to get outside. Emily's ordered to stop them, but all she achieves is opening a skylight for them to get through. The landing's less than smooth, but any you can walk away from. Things start breaking down when they return to their hideout, what with Jigen not happy that the original metal was little more than another present for Fujiko. Due to being one of the hardest substances to exist, Lupin tries to get Goemon to cut up the metal for a ring, but he refuses. He then decides to play to Goemon's ego, which he falls for quickly. Unfortunately, Goemon can't make a dent in anything besides Zantetsuken. With that in mind, he returns to the open road, while Jigen also decides to go off on his own. Lupin's looking forward to some alone time with Fujiko, but that goes about as well as it usually does for him. With the original metal in hand, Fujiko meets with Lady Jo, one of the assassin group from the opening, to sell it off. Negotiations don't go too well, and in the ensuing fight, the metal is revealed to be fake. As Fujiko makes a retreat, Jo deduces that one of the other three must have the real thing and contacts her fellow assassins to tell them to keep tabs on them. Lupin takes some time off at a casino but falls into an unlucky streak. Even his disguises seem to lack the usual effectiveness as he fails to pass off any collateral. Outside, he runs into an insurance broker named Sophie, who offers him some funds if he pays back double. One bout of success later, she reveals she knows he has the original metal, and approached him because her organisation, whom Lupin suspects is the NSA, wants it back. Jigen overhears a struggle in an alley. Fighting off the attackers, he encounters a woman named Linda who works as a magician in a nearby jazz bar. She demonstrates her ability by swiping his gun and a bullet before he takes her up on her invitation as thanks for helping. The muggers were actually in on the con, but get killed by the assassins for their trouble. Goemon, meanwhile, seeks out a man he suspects is the master sword sharpener Jingoro. While he's brushed off as being mistaken, he ponders things over while striking up a conversation with the barmaid Kaoru. Lupin and Sophie share a drink at a bar, where he reveals he's not sure who he planted the original metal onto. Sophie's unconvinced and spikes his drink with the truth drug. Falling under its influence, Lupin reveals Jigen's currently holding it. The drug also works as a fast-acting poison, but Lupin was prepared with a sponge down his throat to absorb it. Jigen enjoys Linda's magic show. He's called to the stage to participate, ending up part of a gunfight rather than a magic act. He tells Linda he doesn't have the original metal, shooting a beam on top of her to escape. She then contacts the others with this info, while Sophie discovers a box in her handbag. While she fears what's inside, it's just a joke message from Lupin, causing her to flash back to her boyfriend pulling a similar prank. Kaoru approaches Goemon as he trains. He realises she's out to kill him, as she's in possession of a cursed blade known as Benizakura. With Zantetsuken still in bad shape, Goemon flees for now. Lupin meets with Chingensai, an appraiser who knew his grandfather. Running analysis on the original metal, he learns it's terrestrial rather than alien. The director at the Pentagon also tells Zenigata the same thing, assigning him to a special ops group to recover it as it's American developed. As Zenigata eats, he's approached by Emily. She wants permission to join him as she feels it was her fault the original metal was lost. Following a lecture, he says he'll talk with his superiors about it. Unfortunately, while talking, he put too much sugar in his coffee, and he ends up in an altercation with a waitress. Emily drops her belongings in the confusion, and Zenigata gets a face full of her perfume for his trouble. He then receives a call informing him Lupin's been located. Lupin meets with Jigen and Goemon to swap information. Jigen spotted a tattoo on Linda, narrowing it down to a logo used by the anti-American assassin group Bloody Angels, with the four targeting them being elite members known as Lucky Clover. He suggests handing over the original metal, but Lupin doubts they can just walk away intact. More importantly right now, Zenigata has them surrounded again. Too bad for him, they're able to slip away disguised as part of his force. Seeing as the original metal's unable to be cut easily, Lupin suspects there must be another method to shaping it in the possession of the Bloody Angels. He and Jigen take a plane out to a ruined wheat farm island where Fujiko's staying, unaware that Sophie's replaced the pilot. Goemon meanwhile returns to Jingoro, revealing he knows he forged Benizakura. Jingoro agrees to help reforge Zantetsuken on condition that Goemon destroys Benizakura. Jigen ends up falling asleep on the plane, with Lupin soon following. All of this is thanks to Sophie using a sleeping gas. Too bad for her, the two of them prepared with a personal air conditioner. Sophie knocks Jigen out the plane, but he avoids falling by clinging onto the wing. Despite aiming at him with a poisoned arrow, Lupin suspects she can't bring herself to kill him, otherwise she'd have done so and taken the original metal by now. Jigen re-enters and they interrogate her, also planning to strike up some black market deals in the Bloody Angel's name. Sophie simply says there's more to this than money, also indirectly confirming that the Angels know how to reforge the original metal before bailing. Zenigata's once again in pursuit, armed with the missile. Emily tries to protest they'll lose the original metal in that kind of firepower. Zenigata's smart enough to realise Lupin will escape something like that without any trouble, however, ordering a sweep of the surrounding islands. Fujiko's enjoying the money she snagged from their earlier fight with Job. Lupin and Jigen confront her, wanting info on the Bloody Angels. She tries to sweet talk her way out of it, so Jigen decides to take the money as payment for being put in their crosshairs. The Angels themselves soon arrive on the scene, demanding the original metal. With 3 versus 3, the gang split up. Jigen hides out from Linda, who uses her magician tricks to bombard him with grenades. He counters them, but one manages to land behind him. While he gets away, the force of the explosion rips his pocket and costs him most of his ammo. Meanwhile, Fujiko gets back to a cliffside, with the money going over as she fights Joe for it. With only 1 bullet left, Jigen hides out in a flower storehouse. Linda enters and he fires, hoping for a headshot. She evades it by making use of a mirror. As she closes in, he finds the bullet she swiped from him in their alley encounter. Taking out her arm, he makes a move for the exit. Linda starts firing wildly, and the heat from the gunfire mixed with the flower particles causes a chain reaction. Sophie tracks Lupin, but as he's running upwind it makes it difficult to just use poison gas. Not that that matters, as Lupin manages to get behind her anyway. She grows angry at him seemingly mocking her and just demands he shoot. He obliges, but it's a trick gun, as he of course doesn't like shooting women. Kaoru approaches Goemon, aiming to finish things even if he doesn't have the original metal. By this point, Goemon's had Zantetsuken repaired and destroys Benizakura with 1 move. Kaoru gives in as the blade impales her. Sophie tells Lupin about how her boyfriend was killed in a war due to US forces bombarding the area he was stationed before he could get out. She also reaffirms the original metal is an alien, which is a CIA hoax, but it is key in development of plasma-based weaponry. The Bloody Angels' plan was to steal it and sell it off to an enemy nation, so they could develop their own weapons as a deterrent. Lupin tells her not to be so serious all the time, which reminds her of her boyfriend's attitude, so she tells him the key to forging the original metal is a lavender scent liquid her boss holds. This is all cut short when she's on the receiving end of a bullet. Lupin takes aim and sees the shooter was Emily. Zenigata arrives as Emily tries to explain she only intended to intimidate. Lupin's cuffed as she takes back the original metal. Unfortunately, Joe appears, revealing the entire force of Bloody Angels. She tries to get Emily to hand over the original metal, but Lupin and Zenigata know they won't survive once she has it and move to escape via flashbang. As they hide, Zenigata tries to call for backup. Lupin then smells the perfume Zenigata accidentally sprayed on himself, noting it's got a lavender scent. Emily tries to hand over the original metal to Joe, but Lupin and Zenigata stop her, the latter because he doesn't want to see her killed, and the former because he suspects she's the boss of the Bloody Angels. Emily drops her facade when Lupin asks for the perfume, confirming his theory. As she taunts them, Lupin spots a secret passage. He drags Zenigata through it, with them emerging at a pyramid. Hiding out, Zenigata laments falling for Emily's act. Lupin promises revenge and they find a passage to the top of the pyramid. The Bloody Angels charge the pair but don't get too close. Emily tries to make an escape but Lupin hits her in the leg. He grabs the perfume but Joe tells him to drop it, showing she's taken Fujiko hostage. Jigen arrives on the scene, shooting out the captors. Goemon also joins the fight, bringing the gang together. The Bloody Angels aren't any match for their combined abilities. Zenigata's backup arrives too, and Joe's taken in. Emily's escaped to the shore but finds her ship cut in half. The gang approach and she tries to cut a deal with them over the original metal. Lupin simply tells her she's holding another fake. Goemon was holding the real one, as he had Jingoro resharpen Zantetsuken with it. Emily starts pleading for her life as the gang walk away. Lupin obliges, giving her a chance to walk. Unfortunately for her, she doesn't take it. Zenigata surveys the aftermath and gets informed Emily didn't have the original metal. Searching beneath the sea, all they find is the fake one she dropped. Fujiko complains she could have gotten a lot of money for the original metal, but Lupin's not telling her anything now. Zenigata's tracked down Lupin by now, reminding him he only let him go to fight the Bloody Angels. There are two types of Lupin III fans. Wait, I did that already. That said, similar to From Russia with Love, this one feels like another hour-long story stretched to meet the 90 minutes. Even then, the Lucky Clovers feel largely underdeveloped, mostly just there to give everybody a person to fight. Sophie's developed to a degree, but she's killed before they really do anything with her following her backstory. While Zenigata didn't see it coming, Emily being the mastermind just came off as too obvious. The clumsy act, the accidental letting the gang go at the beginning, not to mention her design having a dominant colour like the rest just make it too telegraphed. Goemon also feels he may as well have not been there, as his own story is out of the way of the rest of the gang for the most part. That all said, it'd be a bit unfair to say it's all bad. Art and animation are certainly up there, with some nice work in the opening escape especially. Yuji Ono is of course on point with the music too, even bringing back some new compositions of some old Series 2 classics. The end fight also has some nice choreography going for it too. Even Zenigata gets in on the action with the rest of the gang, which is always a highlight when it happens. That and Lupin's generally on the ball, no pun intended, as far as reading the actions of the angels throughout. As I've said before, a bad Lupin entry still means something that's at least worth watching once, and even here that counts even if I find this to be one of the weakest TV movies. Next time, a 7-day wait on a horse race leads to its own conspiratorial rhapsody. Until then.